Hi guys, welcome to the Rookie Reader. I am Jennifer, and in today's vlog, I am going to share with you brand new releases. These are books that either came out in January or February of this year, so 2024. So, and I'm so excited because I actually have hard copies of the books. I'm so excited. So, normally I don't purchase hard copies, or I normally don't purchase books. I try to get as many free books as I can. So I use my Libby app for my library. I do Kindle, Kindle books for my library. I do audiobooks for my library. And then I have Audible. So I get a certain number of not free, I mean, I pay for them. I get a certain number of audiobooks a month through that, but at a discounted price. And then I have Amazon, what's it called? I have Kindle Unlimited. So I tried all of those resources first before I ever actually purchase any kind of book. But I knew that with the new books, I was going to be on the waiting list forever at my library. And I went ahead and I used a gift card that I received at Christmas to go to Target. And I got all these books that are on my TBR list that I really wanted to read. So first of all, the first book is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. So I'm going to be reading this. This is a fantasy vampire werewolf love story. A little out of Ali Hazelwood's comfort zone, I think, but I'm super excited about it. I, back in the day, was a huge Twilight fan. So I'm thinking this is going to be good. I'm looking forward to that. Next is The Fury by Michaelides, and this, he is the author of The Silent Patient, which was the first mystery thriller that I really remember reading and being like, whoa, I like this genre. And it's my favorite genre. So, I've already started this, so I will update you on that in just a minute, because I went through the list of books I had here. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start with this one. So I'll update you on this progress in just a minute. Okay, next I'm going to read First Light Winds, and maybe not in this order, you guys, not necessarily the order I'm going to read it in. These are just the order they're currently stacked. Okay, so First Light Winds by Ashley Elston. This is a Reese's Book Club book. I have had really good luck with her book club books, so I'm excited to read this one. Also, the buzz online is this is a really good book, so I'm excited about that. It's funny because this is not doing so well. I mean, people aren't reading it so well, but anyway, we'll get into that. I'm liking it. We'll get into that. Okay. So this is also a mystery thriller, so I'll be reading that over the next couple weeks. And then finally, I have the new Kristin book, and it's called The Women. So this will be a historical fiction, and I'm pretty sure it's about Vietnam, some women during Vietnam. So anyways, looking forward to that. Okay, so let's talk about The Fury. So unfortunately, I'm already halfway through. And I like to check in 25, 50, 75, 100. But I'm going to tell you exactly how I felt at the 25 mark. At the 25% mark, so when I was about 25% of the way through the book, my feeling was at that point that it was pretty boring because they were doing a lot of background knowledge building. They were establishing location, characters, background stories for the characters, and it's a pretty big list of characters for this book. So this is a murder mystery, and the murder takes place on a private Greek island, and all the characters on the island here, I'll tell you. I'll try to go from my memory. So there's Lana. She is the one who owns the island, and she is a retired actress. She's an actress from America. So she's an American actress living in, I want to say London. She's living in England somewhere, but she also owns this private Greek island. So it's her husband, it's her son, Leo. I forgot her husband's name. Her husband is Jason. And then it's her maid / cook. And she has a really cool name. Agatha. And then her gardener. I'm doing bad with the names. And then her gardener. I forgot his name right at the moment. And then she also invited her 2 friends from London, both part of, you know, the whole stage life movie industry kind of situation. One of them is a British actress, and then one is a British playwright. And the British playwright, he is the one telling the story. His name is Elliot Chase, and he is a playwright, and he is narrating the story. And I've heard, like, people who've complained about the book, they don't like him as a narrator. I'm okay with him as a narrator. I could see how he could be annoying to some people, but I don't mind him as a narrator. So this story is told in 5 acts. Don't plays have 5 acts? I think they do. I think that was intentional because he's a playwright, because he's the narrator. He's telling the story in 5 acts. So I'm now halfway through the book. So I've finished the 2nd act of the book. So that first act was pretty boring, like I said, just establishing who everybody was and what their connections were. The 2nd act, at the end of the 1st act, there is the murder. And I'm not even going to tell you who was murdered because I don't want to spoil anything for you, but there's a murder on the island. So the 2nd act kind of jumps back in time to just the stuff that happened in the 1st act, but gives us more information. So now, in the 2nd act, we learn why some people might have a motive to kill. So that's what's happening in the 2nd act, and it's a lot more interesting now. I'm really enjoying this book. So I would say it's not as good as The Silent Patient, but it's definitely entertaining. I'm having a good time. I want to keep reading. I'll probably finish the book today, I'm thinking, because I'm enjoying it that much. So yeah, I don't know what all the complaints are from other people, but I'm enjoying it. But I don't always have the most popular opinions about books, but I think it's a good time. I think it's interesting. So one thing I wanted to mention, the narrator, he says he's an unreliable narrator from the very beginning. So that too is, you know, a little bit of a mystery in itself. As I'm reading the book, I'm like, okay, is he telling the truth? Like, did this really happen? Did it really happen the way he said it happened? So yeah, that's where I am. Okay guys, let's talk about The Fury. So I finished the book last night. I couldn't put it down, you guys. I love to do check-ins like at 1/4, half, and 75, and then at 100. That's how I prefer to do these book vlogs, but I could not put it down last night. I love this. I mean, okay, it's not as good as The Silent Patient, but it's good. I'm giving it 4 stars. I don't know why. I've watched a handful of reviews on this and no one else seems to like it. I think I seem to be the only one that likes it. I've heard people complain that like there's too many twists and turns. I liked it. I liked all the twists and turns. They kept me on my toes. It kept me engaged. I think it all made sense. The twists and turns, nothing came out of the like, well, that's completely off, you know, like it all made sense in the end. And I think some people complained about the main character, the guy who's talking to you, like he talks directly to you and tells you this story, the narrator, and people didn't like his personality, his tone. I didn't mind it. I felt like he was who he was, and I felt like he was a fitting character, and I like this book. It was a good mystery thriller. It was a solid book. I was reading about the author on the last page where it says meet the author. So this author, Alex Michaelides, he actually grew up in Cyprus. And this book takes place on a Greek island, so that's kind of cool. Also, too, I found out that they are making The Silent Patient into, is it a movie? Now I have to go back and look again. Oh, yeah, so it's been optioned to be made as a film by Plan B. So it's not currently like under production or anything, but I hope it happens. Plan B is the production company by Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt. Their production company, so I hope it actually happens. I would love to watch this as a movie. I think it would be a whole lot of fun. Okay, next up is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. And even though I've only read one Ali Hazelwood book before and I didn't like it. I'm still excited about this one, and here's why. The book that I read before was Love Theoretically. She was a great writer, so I know that I'm going to get good writing here. It was just the female character in Love Theoretically that was driving me crazy. I didn't like her. But this topic I'm super excited about. Vampires, werewolves, there is an arranged marriage. I'm in. I think I'm gonna like it. So I actually already read the prologue and I'm already like, okay, I wish I had nothing else to do today and I could just sit and read this book because I want to devour this book. Hi guys, I have a very comfy reading day today, so I am in a location. I'm not in my office, I'm actually in my bedroom today. I don't have to work today, so I can spend the whole day reading, and you guys, I am absolutely loving this book. So this is my second Ali Hazelwood book that I've ever read. I did not like the first one, which was called Love Theoretically. I gave it a 3-star, but I decided to give her a second chance because I did enjoy her writing. Even though I didn't enjoy that story, I enjoyed her writing. And I love vampires and werewolves. I was a huge Twilight fan, so I was excited to get my hands on this and give it a shot. And I'm so glad I did because I'm absolutely loving it. I'm a quarter of the way through the book at this point, and let me tell you a little bit about what's going on so far. So this here, the vampire, her name is Misery. What a terrible name. I feel so bad for her. And the wolf, her husband, his name is Lowe, L-O-W-E. Misery and Lowe, like terror, like just sad names, you guys. But anyways, so Misery, so in this world there are humans, vampires, and werewolves. And Misery doesn't really fit anywhere in any of those worlds, because when she was a child, so she was the daughter of a very powerful vampire councilman. So she was given to the humans as a daughter, as a peace offering. So they took her, or they kept her and took care of her, the humans did, and watched over her until she was 18, and then they set her free. And then there's a new vampire child that has to go live with the humans. And I forget what they call them. It's not a tribute, but it's like a hostage kind of situation. Basically, I mean, the humans took good care of her, but she was isolated. She was actually raised with one other orphan whose name was Serena. I think it's Serena. And those two became like this. They were really good friends. Once she was 18 and was able to go back to the vampire, so the city's broken up into 3 locations. There's the humans spot, the vampire spot, and the werewolf spot. So when she was 18, they let her go back to the vampire world, but she was considered an outcast at that point because she'd been living amongst the humans. So the vampires were very, very cruel to her, and she wasn't happy there. So she ends up going back to the human world to live undercover. She has to sharpen her fangs, not sharpen them, dull them, once a week so that they're not fang-like. And she works at night so she's not exposed to the sun. But she becomes roommates with the girl that she grew up with. And when the book starts, they're no longer roommates, but they're still really good friends. So this is her best friend. And she gets called back to the vampire world to talk to her father. And he wants to set up a marriage between her and the main werewolf guy, the alpha, who is Lowe. So the reason why he wants to set up a marriage with them is their thinking is if a vampire is married to a werewolf, then the two groups can have peace, or a truce or something, which is a little bit hard to understand. How is that going to create peace or a truce? But if you think about human history, we did the same thing. In England, English family would marry somebody from the French family so that they could avoid war. Hopefully that didn't always happen, but things like that. So historically we do that too as humans. So she's married off to him. They don't seem to like each other, so it's an arranged marriage. It could be a love to hate situation eventually if they do fall in love, which I think they will, because I think this is a romance. So one of the things that reminds me of Twilight is Lowe. He has a very strong reaction to her scent, which was the same situation with Edward and Bella in Twilight, the Twilight series. She thinks he's like totally disgusted and turned off by her scent, but I'm interpreting it more of like he's overcome and can't help himself when he smells her. So anyways, they try to avoid each other. She doesn't like him, she tries to avoid him. Well, I think she's scared of him because I think he could easily kill her. And I think he tries to avoid her partially because he doesn't like vampires, and the other part is because he's confused by his attraction to her scent. I think that's what's going on so far, but I just can't wait to keep reading, so I'm going to go ahead and keep reading. Wait, one very important thing is, you might be wondering, why did Misery and Lo even agree to this marriage in the first place? So first of all, Lo agreed to it because he is the alpha and he wants to take care of his people, and this deal is good for his people. Now Misery doesn't really fit in with her people, so why would she accept this whole situation? She was quite happy living with the humans, like undercover. But she does it because, remember earlier I told you about her, like the girl she was raised with, and they later became roommates, and they're not roommates anymore, but they're still friends. She disappears, and Misery goes to her apartment to look for her and gets a note and sees the werewolf's name on it. So when her father tells her about this marriage arrangement, and he tells her the name of the werewolf, she's like, whoa, I think my friend has been kidnapped by the werewolves. So she agrees to the marriage because she's going there undercover to see if she can find her friend. This is a really important detail, and I can't believe I didn't tell you earlier, but that's why she even agreed to it in the first place. So I am halfway through the book, and I absolutely cannot stop reading. It is so good. It is so good. I don't want to tell you like anything else because I don't want to spoil anything, but oh my goodness, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. Okay, I have finished Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and 5 stars. So I do have a couple of complaints though. So last night I got to like 90% at 3 a.m. and I made myself stop. So I finished the last 10% this morning, and I have to say that last 10% kind of dragged on. So that's one complaint. I felt like the end kind of dragged on. I feel like she could have wrapped it up a little bit faster at the end. And 2, this was a very spicy book. See, here's the thing, is I've read spicy books before, but I'm usually, or listened to them on audio, and usually in audio, just like, fast forward really quickly through the parts I'm not interested in. And this, I actually had to like turn the pages through the parts I'm not interested in, and I felt like I was turning through a lot of pages. I mean, some people like spice, so it's good if you like spice, but if you're not into that part, then that could be a little bit like, just a little bit, I don't know what the word is, tedious to flip through the pages to get to the part where the spice is finally over. But overall, I loved this story. Loved it so much. 5 stars. Ali Hazelwood has redeemed herself in my eyes. I've only read 2 of her books. I didn't like the first one so much. Loved this one. So I might read more of her books in the future. We'll have to see. Loved it, guys. Absolutely loved it. Next up, I'm going to be reading The Women by Kristin Hannah. And I read a couple of her books in the past. I read The Four Winds and The Nightingale. And actually The Four Winds made it on my top 10 last year. I love her writing. It is a little bit gut-wrenching. She's a historical fiction writer. She loves to write about strong women. I love to read about strong women, but they're always in these extremely difficult situations, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to read or to listen to. But I'm looking forward to it. This particular setting is the Vietnam War, and that's really all I know. And of course, there's going to be strong women in this book, but let's get into it and see how it goes. Okay, so let's talk about The Women by Kristin Hannah. So I'm more than a quarter, but less than a half. That's where I'm at right now. So I'm pretty far into the book. And I stopped at this particular place because okay, I'll tell you why I stopped where I stopped. Okay, so first of all, let's go back to the beginning of the book. So this is a story of a girl named Frankie, a young woman. She's 21. The book starts in California in 1966, her family is having a big party to send her brother off to war. He is going to Vietnam. And while she's there at the party, she is looking at this wall of heroes that her father has built in his office. And all the heroes, their family has a history of military service. And all the heroes, of course, on the wall are men. And his buddy from basic training is there, and he comes up to talk to her, and she's looking at the wall, and she mentions the fact about the heroes, and he says that they're all men, and he says, you know, women can be heroes too. And it's the first time that anyone's ever told her something like that, and it kind of clicks with her. So she has just recently graduated from nursing school, and she feels like in her current position, she's not really using her degree that well. She's doing more of like the tedious tasks and not really anything like with her nursing degree. She's doing more of the maintenance stuff, like cleaning bedpans, that kind of thing. So thinking that she can be a hero too, she goes and she enlists in the army to be a nurse for the army and go to war, just like her brother. So she goes off to Vietnam, and the section that I've read where she's in Vietnam is just awful. Like, if you know of Kristin Hanna's books, like, she does such a great job describing how horrific and horrible these types of historical events were. Like when she did describing World War II in The Nightingale, that was just horrible. Describing the Dust Bowl and the Four Winds, that was just horrible. So I expected nothing less of her. She just paints a very, very vivid picture of what life is like in that situation, like to the point where I feel like I can smell it, I can feel it in my lungs, like the dust in my lungs. Like I feel like just everything about it. She's just so descriptive, and it's always an awful situation. Although she does talk about the beauty of the country of Vietnam, just the situation where they're located, how terrible it is. So at this point in the book, she's finally finished her duty and her, what do you call it, like the amount of time that she's supposed to be there, and she can go home, and she has chosen to re-enlist and stay. I'm like, no. I mean, I have no idea where this book is going, but I thought she was going to travel back home, and then she was going to deal with the fallout of the way society is at that time, the war not being popular. She's getting letters from home, so although she's not seeing things firsthand, she's getting letters from home from her parents and her friends who have finished their tours of duty. I think that's what it is, a tour of duty or something like that. And telling her what life is like back in the United States, like how much it's changed and how unpopular the war is and how they're not appreciated and in fact they're looked down upon and all this kind of stuff. So I thought she was going to go back and deal with some of that. But no, she has decided to sign up for another year. And I'm like, she's been through hell. Like, why would she do this? I mean, I know she's doing it because she believes she can be a hero too, and she believes she can make a difference in these guys' lives. And, the soldiers that she's saving, they also are saving villagers who are being attacked. So anyways, that's where we are. After reading Bride, it was really hard to get into this because Bride was just so much fun, such a good time, a fun ride the whole way through. Nothing really, like any serious thing wasn't really that serious. It was all fun. This is serious, heavy stuff. So it was a little hard to get into at first, but now I'm very invested. I want to see what's going to happen with her life and where she's going to go. I've done a little bit of listening and a little bit of reading, and I have to say, again, I'm enjoying the reading more than the listening. Although the narrator of this book, I have discovered, she's narrated several books, and she is one of my favorite narrators as far as, audiobooks go. She's narrated several of Kristin Hanna's books. So I do like the narrator. I just still enjoy reading the book myself. More than listening. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and continue on, and I'll check up with you a little bit later. So I just finished part 1 of The Women, and there's so much I want to say, but I don't want to ruin anything for you. So instead of, I'm not going to go into details so I don't ruin anything. I wish there's someone I could talk to about this book. It's so like Also too, I've never annotated, is that how you say it, a book before, but there's so many quotes in this book that I'm like, I wish I could underline that. Maybe I should do it anyways. Maybe, even though I don't annotate books, maybe I should go back and highlight or underline the parts that like really hit hard. Anyway, so I just finished part 1. There's a second part of the book. And when I last came to you, I said that she had signed up for another year. That year was over. She went home, and then I can't even tell you I don't want to tell you, but all the crazy stuff that happened. But it was intense. It was so intense that like I found myself several times just holding my breath. Like, it was so intense. So there's that. So part 2 is about to begin, and I feel like there's hope based on what just happened at the end of part 1. I feel like there's hope for her and hope for her future. And I really hope that that is the case. Like, oh, this book. So I'm looking forward to hearing the next part. I can't wait to hear what's going to happen. And I hope some good things start to happen for this lady. I really do. So I'm about 3/4 of the way through the book, and Kristin Hannah is an amazing author, but this book is insanely depressing. Like, I don't even want to finish it. It's bringing me so down. I will finish it because I have to know what's going to happen, but it's depressing. It's very depressing. Okay, let's talk about the women. So I actually finished this book today, and I have to say the very last part of it, the last maybe 6 chapters were incredible. I absolutely loved the last 6 chapters, and or maybe it was like 4 chapters, but those last few chapters I really, really loved. Here's the deal. When it comes to rating this, I'm really struggling because I can't rate it a 5 because it brought me so much pain and so much misery. I just can't. It's just not a 5 for me. But I also feel like this like deep respect for Kristin Hannah and the fact that she takes on these incredibly difficult topics and brings them to life in a very painful way. Like, you've got to know this going into a Kristin Hannah book, that it's going to be a painful, sad, depressing read. So like, I almost feel guilty not giving it a 5 because it made me sad and depressed, and that's what her books do. But I can't give it a 5. It's a 4. It's a very, very strong 4. And you know what? I reserve the right to change that in the future. In the future, I might change my mind and decide, you know what? No, it's actually a 5. But right now, at this moment in time, I feel like it's a 4. And I'm thinking of a few like close friends I have that I actually talk about books with, like in real life. I wouldn't recommend it to either one of them because I know it just would make them miserable. I don't think they would like it. But it's an amazing book. If you can handle the pain, the heartache, it's amazing. Okay, I am ready for some fun. Let's move back to a mystery thriller. So next book I'm going to read is First Lie Wins by Ali Elston. So I haven't started it at all yet, so I'm going to go ahead and get it started, and I'll check in with you guys in a little bit. Okay guys, time to check in for First Lie Wins. So I'm actually about halfway through the book. Unfortunately, I couldn't check in this weekend. I had a family emergency and I wasn't able to film, but I have read half the book. So we start with a lady named Evie Porter, but that's not her real name because she's some kind of spy. She's some type of spy. She works for a mysterious man named Mr. Smith. She doesn't know his identity. She doesn't know anything about him. That's not his real name, I'm sure. She doesn't know what his voice sounds like because when he calls her, when they talk on the telephone, he has a voice changing thing. So she doesn't know exactly who she works for, but when she's given a case, she's first given her identity, and then she's given the location of the case, and then the mark. And then after all of that, after she's researched all that, then she is given the job. So when she first starts, she doesn't even know what the job is necessarily. And at this point, she knows the location and the mark, and she's made herself the girlfriend of the mark. And she's kind of falling for the guy, but she doesn't know the job yet. She doesn't know what she's supposed to be doing or looking for or what she's supposed to do. So she's just going along with establishing that she's his girlfriend, basically, at this point. But the problem is she's falling for him. That's one of the problems. Another problem is he recently introduced her to one of his friends, and that friend had a new girlfriend, and the new girlfriend has her real identity. She's using her real identity. So her real name, her real hometown, her real like story of her mom being sick and dying of cancer, I believe it was. And she's freaking out because not only is she using all that stuff, she looks like her too. So she looks like her, she has all of her real information. She's being somebody else at the time, so she can't call her out on it. And so there's a few mysteries going on. At this point, halfway through, we don't know what job she's doing, why she's spying on her boyfriend. And we don't know exactly what's going on with this other character who is pretending to be her. So it's a very engaging story. I don't want to put it down. I just want to keep reading. So far I'm really enjoying it. Okay, I have finished First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston, and it was so good. That last half blew my mind. I couldn't stop reading. I was up until 2 o'clock last night, and I didn't quite finish it, so I finished it this morning before I started my day, and it was so good. There were so many twists and turns and things I didn't see coming, and it was a fun ride. I really enjoyed it. I haven't thought about a rating. Let me think about that for a second. Okay, I'm gonna give it a 4, and this is why I'm not giving it a 5. Because the first half was a bit slow and a little bit boring, and I almost was like, I don't get it, what's the big deal? But the last half was really good. So I'm gonna give it a 4. It wasn't a perfect 5, but 4, solid 4. And I just read the little blurb, on the back here about the author, and this is her first like adult novel. I guess she's only written YA before now, and she did an amazing job. It was very good for her first attempt. And I wanna go and look her up now and see what her YA novels are about, because I like YA novels too, so I'm curious about that. Very good book. This is a great way to end the vlog on a good, solid 4-star read. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll hope you come back and watch another video again in the future. So don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed.